Alright guys, what's up? Arid Lord here. This is my Week 2 recap for the Patriots 2018 season, Game 2 of the season at Jacksonville. Um, you can tell by my non-enthusiastic nature that things didn't exactly go as planned. I knew this was going to be a tough game. Like, of all the games on their schedule, I imagined Green Bay, the Vikings, and the Jaguars to be their toughest regular season matchups. Considering what a disaster the Steelers are, I just don't even really consider them a threat at this point. Ben Roethlisberger is playing horrible. They lost to the Chiefs today. They had a tie game with the freaking Browns. So that's a totally different story. But I knew this game was going to be tough going into it. But I had confidence in our defense. Last week, the performance against the Texans, there was a lot of pass rush, just a lot of plays made, especially in the red zone, keeping the Texans to field goals. There were 2 times when they were in the red zones and they had to settle for field goals, and if those were touchdowns instead of field goals, they would have beat us because we only won that game last week by it was a 1-score game. So for me, I went into this game with a bit of optimism, thinking that the defense would shut down Blake Bortles, especially considering they didn't have Leonard Fournette. Fournette had a hamstring injury from Week 1 against the Giants, so I thought that this offense was going to be weak. I didn't have any faith in Blake Bortles. I thought he was just kind of like just a QB with some legs, could make a few touchdowns here and there. I just didn't think he had it in him. And obviously, credit where credit is due, but I also have to obviously point out the facts of just our defense and where it lacked. 31 points. This is deja vu to the Super Bowl all over again. Super Bowl 52, where 41 points were given up to Nick Foles in the Philadelphia offense. And once again, you can look to key players. Like, it's so frustrating when key players are out. It affects the whole game. In this game, Patrick Chung and Trey Flowers were both injured with concussions. Like, not even something minor with their leg, calf injury. No, this was extreme, top-of-the-line injury, concussion. And I don't know the severity. I don't know if they're going to be good against the Lions next week. Now, granted, it's the Lions. Matt Patricia's team has been absolutely awful, considering they got blown out by the freaking Jets. So I do feel like there's kind of a cushion next week. There's kind of like an easy win next week. And even the next couple of games, if I'm looking at the schedule here. We play the Lions, the Dolphins, the Colts. Again, I don't fear any of the teams that are coming up next, really, except the Chiefs. I think the Chiefs on October 14th is the next game that I'm kind of a little afraid of, because the Chiefs... what is that, the player that they have? I'm going to have to do a quick search here, because they have a player who's making some plays, who's getting player of the week accolades. Here he is. Patrick Mahomes. Yeah, big-time playmaker, apparently. He's been getting some, he's been making noise. So that's going to be a challenge. Again, if the Patriots play like they do a few weeks from now, a month's time, against the Chiefs like they did today, they'll lose that game. I mean, because they opened, if you recall last year, they had a shitty defensive performance against Andy Reid's Chiefs, and they lost the opener. Like, they put 42 points up on the freaking Patriots. And people, I kind of remember that game, because it was the opener. The Patriots had the Super Bowl 51 champions jerseys, and they get blown out. And everyone say, oh, that's it, the Patriots are done, end of the dynasty, blah, blah, blah. And then they ended up making the Super Bowl. So, like, I know they didn't win it. They were, like, 1 touchdown, 1 lost fumble away from winning that game. I mean, even with the terrible defensive performance, Brady still put up 505 yards, record yards-wise passing for any game. And so... obviously, and Graham made 1 big play to get that fumble and seal the game. So, again, we're not going to relive the past. The Eagles are struggling themselves. A lot of the injuries that I witnessed against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, which are now 2-0 somehow. Just teams teams that you would not think would be doing well. Like, just I don't know. I mean, again, that's why the NFL is unpredictable. I mean, the Miami Dolphins are now leading the AFC East, but again, it's only week 2. Like, people go absolutely batshit insane. Like, oh my God, this team is doing this. Can you believe this and that? It's like guys, chill. It's week 2. Okay, if I recall, last year at this time, the Patriots were 1-1 because they lost the first game and then they won the second game of the season. Well, now it's the reverse. They won the first game and they lost the second. Like, we're 1-1. Fine. I mean, we're doing better than most teams out there. Some teams are 0-2 right now. Some teams have a tie game and a loss. The Steelers and the Browns both qualify for that. So I wouldn't jump into panic territory. But if Patrick Chung and Trey Flowers are out for an extended period of time, then I would worry. Again, like I said, we have a cushion. The next couple of weeks, again, I don't really fear the Colts, the Jets, or the not the Jets, the Miami Dolphins, the Colts, or the Lions. I just don't see them beating the Patriots really at all. So hopefully those weeks give some of our injured players time to recover. Again, concussions are tricky, man. You got the whole concussion protocol, and obviously you want to make sure guys are healthy. You don't want to start people who've got injuries because then they don't play effectively, and it's as if you might as well have kept them out. So it's just annoying because injuries have just really plagued this team. Sonny Michel got playing time today. I was nervous because with rookie running back, sometimes ball security is a problem. It's really annoying that we lost Jeremy Hill last week. He had a really good performance in the first half of that game against the Texans, and then he goes down with an injury, out for the whole season. It's just like, there are a lot of players where this has happened with the Patriots. Malcolm Mitchell. Been a long day, guys. Malcolm Mitchell. A wide receiver that we cut. Had a big performance in Super Bowl 51. Was injured the entirety of the season last year. Still had all these injuries, and we had to cut him because of that. It's annoying, players with potential that just get, cut. And it showed because we just had a lack of receiving targets. Brady's throwing a ball downfield to Philip Dorsett, and Dorsett can't get ahead of the ball, and he drops it. It was just apparent. Like, obviously our playmakers, big playmakers from previous games had to step up. Like, James White had some big first down conversions. Gronkowski was a non-factor in this game. I don't know if they were trying to play mind games because Jalen Ramsey obviously had all of his stupid shit-talking comments about, I'm gonna make Gronk look pathetic. Well, they didn't even really get to test that because there were barely any passes to Gronk. There were a few that he caught. But they were using Gronkowski for, like, offensive line blocking, like I noticed, because obviously Marcus Cannon, I think he was also out with an injury, so they had Waddle up at the O-line. But there were a few plays where I saw Gronk just using his brute strength to block players, and considering the Jacksonville defense, which did force a fumble on Brady, they made noise. I was expecting a defensive game out of Jacksonville. That didn't surprise me. What surprised me was the offensive performance by Blake Bortles and the fact that our defense couldn't do anything to stop it. Eric Rowe getting burnt on all sorts of plays, just like in the Super Bowl, which I don't see how that was a surprise after that. Stephon Gilmore making plays. He slapped the ball out to get that recovery. It was annoying because we climbed our way back into this game. At one point, it was looking like it was going to be a one-possession game. If Brady hadn't fumbled that ball, we could have kicked a field goal to make it 16-24, one-possession ball game. And it was looking like it was going to be a repeat of the AFC Championship game. The Patriots were starting. There was a point, it was 13 unanswered points. The Patriots got a touchdown and a field goal. And it was off of the fumble, and then Blake Bortles, like a ball got tipped, and there was an interception. So there were some defensive plays that were made, but just the game wasn't consistent enough. Brady has never historically played well in the heat. I don't know what it is. I mean, I guess he's just a New England guy, and it's always cold up here when he plays his games. If you look, like, in Miami, when he plays away games at Miami, there was a game they played in the 2017 season where they lost. Like, for whatever reason, Brady just plays awful in the heat. And I guess it was like 90, 100 degrees, but At the same time, that's not an excuse. It's not an excuse. I know he's a 41-year-old quarterback and he was playing in extreme heat conditions. He was doing decent. Like, he wasn't doing horrible. He clawed them back. I mean, 20 points, but it wasn't enough. And there were times where I was hopeful and then I was down and hoping. It just, the one point in the game there was a turning point where it was 4th and 1. James White went to the sideline. They thought it was a first down. Then the Jacksonville challenged it. They were 4th and inches. And for some reason, they didn't go for it. It was 4th and inches, and the Patriots didn't go for it. Now, Ryan Allen was going to punt. And then one of the Jacksonville players jumped off sides. But I guess it was going to be encroachment if he touched a Patriots player, which Belichick was furious that the Patriots player didn't do that because then the penalty would have been called, but it wasn't called. If that had been called, then the Patriots would have got a fresh set of downs, and it would have changed the course of the game because if you recall, a few plays later, there was a 70-yard run for a touchdown to put them up 31 points. Because at that point, Jacksonville hadn't scored anything. Like, they were stuck at 24 points, but then they got the touchdown, which put them way farther ahead, which made the Patriots coming back almost an impossibility. So it was annoying because if Brady had that fresh set of downs to keep moving the ball, like, they could have made the game a one-score game. And if they had got that field goal and it wasn't a fumble, then, again, there's a lot of what-ifs. Football, you can do what-ifs until the cows come home for every fucking game. I get it. I did plenty of it with Super Bowl 52 after that loss. But yeah, the defense, dude, you gotta freaking rework the defense. Like, no more Matt Patricia. You can't blame it on him. This is Bill's defense. He's the defensive mind. And a lot of people are going to blame him for this. I saw Skip Bayless on Twitter blaming Belichick for the... Yeah, I mean, you got to give Brady a chance here. I mean, like Blake Bortles should not have been able to put this many points up. Like, if the Patriots were only able to score 20 points, which they did in this game, like, you should have been able to hold Jacksonville to lower than that. In the AFC Championship game, they held Jacksonville to 20 points, okay? And they gave up almost twice as many in this game. And this is supposed to be a defense that was way better than the one last year. I mean, you had James Harrison last year, but you got Hightower back, you got Claiborne, you got pass rushers, like, you got playmakers. But, like I said, injuries. Patrick Chung, Trey Flowers, 2 big playmakers, Chung being a captain. That's going to make the difference. There were so many times where Bortles was passing along to the sideline, where he himself was running the ball, and there was just an open, like, the zone was open. It was just completely open, and no one was expecting this quarterback to put on the wheels. He had done it like 3 or 4 times, and then he does it again. It's like, how do you not anticipate that this play is coming up? It just baffles me. It absolutely baffles me that this was the case. Really, really disappointing, dude. Really disappointing performance by this Patriots team. The lack of wide receivers, just who's your deep threat? Last year, Brandon Cooks was that speed receiver who could get those deep balls. Like, who is it going to be now? Until Julian Edelman comes back, like, who is going to be that deep guy? The only good news is that the Patriots have a somewhat easy schedule until Julian Edelman comes back. So some of their injured guys can heal up, and then Julian Edelman can come back. And then when the Vikings and the Packers come to Foxborough, hopefully we'll be able to hold down the fort, because you can't play like this against Jacksonville. But again, it was a home game at Jacksonville. They were fired up. They wanted to make a statement because they lost in the AFC Championship game. Give credit. But yeah, they had the momentum on their side for this game. Our defense played like shit at a time where they shouldn't have played like shit. And Brady almost made a comeback. That's the thing. Like, I started seeing the turnovers when the ball came loose and Gilmore knocked it loose. The interception that Bortles threw. There were opportunities for this team to come back. They were within that one-score game territory. But just giving up 14 points unanswered to start the first quarter, and you haven't done that in 4? I think it was since 2012 the Patriots haven't given up 14 unanswered points. That's just sad, dude. Like, I don't know how your defense does that. There were so many times where it was third down. Like, what was the completion on Blake Bortles third down. So many times on third down, it would get to 3rd and 6, 3rd and 5, and I'm like, yep, they'll convert it. And sure enough, they convert it. Wide open receiver, Yeldon, whoever it is. It's just, I was like, yep, like why are we're not covering? Like I just, frustrating, really, really frustrating. Seriously, fucking D- play out there, guys. Like, what are you doing? What are you doing? Yeah, so I knew with this series I have to cover the losses as well as the wins. Comes with the territory, all right. But the thing is, now I'm kind of Jacksonville's now 2-0. They beat the Giants last week and they beat us. So at this point, who's going to stand in their way? They have a regular season game against the Eagles. That's going to be interesting because that was almost the Super Bowl matchup from last year if they had beat the Pats. I don't know, guys. It's because Jacksonville, looking at their schedule, like they're facing some of the same teams that we are in the coming weeks. We don't play Jacksonville again. The only point at which I imagine we'll face them either in the divisional round or the AFC Championship again. And if they have a better regular season record than us, then the game will yet again be in Jacksonville. And like that's regardless if we're in January, it's still going to be hot temperatures, which the Patriots they just don't fare well in. The AFC Championship is usually won when it's in Patriot territory most of the time. I mean, if we're counting, the only one I could think of off the top of my head was the Ravens back in 2012. They lost that, and then the divisional against the Jets. Those are the only two that stick out in my mind. They lost the AFC Championship game to the Broncos, but those were away games. That was in Broncos territory in 2013, 2016. And that was back when Peyton Manning was playing. So that's the thing. I've been looking for that AFC threat. Like, what's the AFC threat now that Peyton Manning's gone? It looks like it's going to be this ridiculous Jacksonville defense. Like, it looks like that's going to be our threat. Like, I don't think of the Steelers as a threat. With all the drama with Le'Veon Bell, the Steelers defense is garbage. Roethlisberger threw 5 interceptions against the fucking Browns. Our away game against the Steelers, I'm expecting us to win that one. It was way closer last year, but I'm expecting us to win that game. Hopefully our players are healed up and we'll be able to bounce back. So that's my Week 2 recap. Just, not too in-depth with the stats, but, I mean, the game speaks for itself. I mean, 31-20, I mean, you can't... the Patriots don't usually give up that many points. I mean, if you look up the number of points they've given up, last year they did. Last year, the Patriots had more wide receivers. They had Amendola, they had Cooks. They had a bigger wide receiver core so that Brady could make big comebacks. So the Patriots could give up points, but Brady could keep the Patriots in the game. But now some of our offense is faltering, and we're not able to do that as much. So now it's a balance. And so, until, again, Julian Edelman coming back will be big. That'll be big, big, big. And so him and Gronk and some of our other weapons will be big. But we got to figure out these problems, man. I mean, hopefully... I saw Josh McDaniels yelling at people. Tom was yelling at people. I mean, just calm and collective, winning next week against Detroit and beating Matt Patricia next week. Hopefully that'll, energize you, spark you up. That'll give you some confidence and you can figure out some problems. Because, again, easy game next week. Easy game against the team that's under coaching of, blah, blah. I mean, watch the Jets game against that first game, Jets-Lions. Speaks for itself. So, okay, hopefully we'll come back next week with better results. Again, I'm expecting a win for next week. What do I expect the score to be next week? I'm going to give it 33-10. That's what I'm going to say for the Lions game. I think we're going to have a high... I don't think the Lions will be able to stop us. I think it's going to be a high-scoring game. And I'm going to try to give the Patriots defense some credit this time for being able to stop Stafford. I mean, we're going to be in big trouble if we don't win next week's game. That's all I'm going to say. We're going to be in big trouble with a capital B if we don't win next week's game. That's like the equivalent of the Steelers almost losing / tying to the Browns. Like, that's trouble. That's big, big trouble for any Steelers fans. And if we lose to the Lions next week, that's... I don't know about the rest of this season if that's the case. So, anyway, that's it from me. Thanks, guys. Hopefully the Patriots improve. Peace.